Amaga bali chogada de gamande to la pere amache ma lo le jonda jo ma corona tringone. O kwala amadi ichojo corona ba irenga trijo. Amacho tringone. Ijo namba lo le ande sayote su mask chi. E de mask su le su di ba komi onvochi ba kuva miti chi cheche mane da min da ne. So mi jo mask su ba komi onvo ba komiti chi de ijo namba lore. Ijo namba iri le melo mi onvoko le melo mi tiku le melo mi fikiko. Ijo namba na le monjiki di sayotes. Sobuni si azle ye las kadoko madunye alfasi sanitizers. Di ijo namba iri. Ijo namba na le ma jo ijo zichi le ra ma dongoluga. Le ndeki amani patoga kan ko mani rega mai sekele ba du werere. Jo werngaro le mi sekele ga mi ba mendegar be le ba du mitairi. Banu mve mundutu si social distancing. Ijo namba su mi jo group ban le ba soki vaccine corona di sirari ki leta ife ba somera ba dike diki ba ili kaltos mujo diga. Ba ili mudi dero pere kaltoga azo tuntun azo skarni azo pressa ni kan ko zo ze njiri kitu dikele ba sokira mi jo imbapi le ba somira mi jo ba azinga be arojoga health worker le ba so mi vaccine corona di sira mi jo ba security guard ko dojo police askare security koki le ba.
Hello there and welcome to News Tonight here on UBC TV. It is a Wednesday, the 21st day of July 2021. On sign language, it is Elizabeth Nakakoni and I am Rukidi Edward Kiijanangoma. Now, demand for oxygen in major referral hospitals in the country has put government to a test on whether it's people-centered or capitalistic-driven. Now, production of oxygen in all referral hospitals has started as Nile Breweries donates 300 oxygen cylinders. Our reporter Ngabo Amon filed the following report.
The second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, the demand for refilling oxygen cylinders has remained a challenge. Referral hospitals in the country have been admitting COVID-19 patients on a daily basis, some in a dire need of oxygen supply. Now government has confirmed plans of mega production of oxygen in all referral hospitals in the country. This will be in addition to the oxygen that the National Enterprise Corporation, the commercial board of the UPDF, is producing in Ruero. The Prime Minister, Robina Nabanja, says all is set and the production of in all government referral hospitals starts in earnest, as well as the procurement of vaccines to have at least 20 million Ugandans vaccinated.
Very soon Uganda will be producing all the required oxygen to the national response of COVID-19 and all other ailments across the country. Commitment of government to enhance national response to this pandemic.
Nabanja was flagging off 300 filled certified oxygen cylinders to be distributed to 17 government referral hospitals.
Now take the honor and praise on behalf of government and on behalf of the president.
The cylinders were donated by Now Breweries, purchased from Tanzania to a tune of 333 million shillings. The corporate affairs manager Now Breweries, Onapito Okomolet, said that the pandemic has brought the entire nation together to fight a common enemy, saying that the cylinders are part of the fuel and food supplies by Now Breweries in the previous months.
300 may not be ground shaking, but we believe that even if we succeed in saving one life, these cylinders have been procured from outside Uganda, to be precise from Tanzania. They are already filled with certified oxygen, both by the authorities in Tanzania and the authorities in Uganda.
Previously, regional referral hospitals in the country had been overwhelmed by the huge number of COVID-19 patients in need of oxygen, and the amount of oxygen and its production capacity wouldn't match the need.
Heyman Ngabo with that report there. Now, government is considering procuring COVID-19 vaccines directly from manufacturers due to increased demand across the world. Minister for Health, Jane Ruth Acheg, says missions abroad will be tasked to work with manufacturers to secure COVID-19 vaccines for Uganda. She echoed this at Parliament shortly after Prime Minister Robina Nabanja presenting a government report on progress in managing COVID-19 in the country. Our reporter Henry Crute with this report.
The Malaba Town Council that you knew is actually a ghost town, and most of the people do not have any means of livelihood now.
Critical and responsible as they sounded, these were the reactions from members of Parliament. They were responding to a report by Prime Minister Robina Nabanja on government efforts and progress in managing the COVID-19 pandemic.
It was quite disappointing for my government to actually exclude such town councils, the old ones that have been in existence.
My request is that government authorizes private hospitals to get these vaccines, let the rich pay for the vaccines, and let government go and vaccinate the poor. In
her report, Nabanja noted the need to invest in collecting, analyzing and documenting citizens' data. This, she said, would ease government efforts in helping the needy when need arose.
In the process of verifying beneficiaries, we found that some of the people's telephone numbers were registered under different names from those on their national identity numbers. In other cases, beneficiaries submitted telephone numbers not registered on mobile money. While in other cases, beneficiaries had telephone numbers that are not registered with the telephone companies. Such gaps and inconsistencies have caused the delay and affected this exercise dearly.
This remark stems from the ongoing provision of relief aid to needy persons.
This emergency intervention was a short-term relief and not meant to address the high poverty levels, which can only be dealt with in the long term. I humbly request that you explain this intervention of extending support to the immediate COVID-19 vulnerable caused by lockdown in the Kampala metropolitan area, cities and the municipalities to your people.
Unfortunately, the exercise has reportedly seen some people receive twice to the disadvantage of others.
So you can see that there were double allocations, over double payments that were made. There is another lady who also received money, but after a few minutes, his money was reversed back.
Similar concerns have been raised by legislators seeking to find a lasting remedy to render Uganda free from the coronavirus pandemic.
Why did they have to give out money using mobile money? Was it giving business to the telecom companies, whereby over 1 billion was used as monies to be used for withdrawal, because everybody was given 2,400 to withdraw the money.
We are having quite a number of vulnerable people, including the teachers, especially the private teachers. Honestly, they are lacking this kind of facility since the lockdown happened.
For example, on the floor of Parliament, I raised an issue for people who are being arrested every day. Border riders are taken to congested prisons and police cells. I wanted to hear the Right Honourable Prime Minister address the issue of congestion in police cells and police stations and prisons vis-a-vis preventing the transmission of COVID-19, which was not done. So there were so many gaps.
But going forward, members of Parliament across the political divide have agreed to have massive vaccination as the way to go in fighting COVID-19.
In the absence of an effective treatment, vaccination remains an important control measure for COVID-19 pandemic. If all eligible persons are vaccinated, we can open our economy and avoid the lockdowns which has driven our population into more poverty.
In a bid to facilitate local government right to speak and managing the pandemic, Parliament should with immediate effect be informed of the COVID response funding gaps in the country. They should expeditiously be scrutinized by the appropriate committee of Parliament and the House guide on recommended course of action.
This is the reason why government is to deal directly with manufacturers to secure COVID-19 vaccines.
And that is why the Right Honourable Prime Minister in her statement said government is making a multi-pronged approach, including direct procurement from the manufacturers and all available sources like the COVAX facility and the African Union.
To achieve this, Uganda's missions abroad will have a serious role to play.
Government is making all efforts to secure vaccines, including tasking our missions abroad to work with the manufacturers and identify available sources so that we can pay for the vaccines.
As country awaits this, it is clear that government efforts to bail out vulnerable persons have not been in vain. As of 20th July 2021, out of the 501,107 targeted beneficiaries across municipalities and cities, 413,504 beneficiaries had been paid, representing about 82%. Henry Okurut, UBC.
Government mooting the idea there of buying directly from manufacturers in as far as COVID-19 vaccine is concerned. Now, private school teachers and proprietors have reminded government to fulfill the 22 billion COVID-19 recovery package pledged by President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in 2020. Now, although private teachers are among the 1,000 Ugandans who have partly received the COVID-19 vulnerable assistance package of 100,000 Ugandan shillings, many are lamenting and becoming hopeless that they may end up receiving nothing. Let's get more in this report by Robert Onyango.
Bugembe Faizo is a teacher at City Juniors in Inatete, a suburb of Kampala. Bugembe is among the lucky ones at this school who have so far received the COVID-19 lockdown relief cash.
I received this money like 3 days back.
At Good Hope Primary School in Nabulagala, Rubaga Division, Tahia Nachito, a primary 2 class teacher, is also among the anointed ones who have so far pocketed the 100,000 shillings.
Our Prime Minister, it's a very good initiative. You did something worth something an understanding lady can do.
However, the money found them with a bottled budget to meet.
I managed to buy something for myself and my family, but it's not enough.
It got us with a lot of needs. I don't know how to explain it, but the issue is from 2020, because I happen to be a primary 2 teacher. Being a primary 2 teacher, we have not been in practice, and given the fact that we are teaching in private schools for 2 years. We are looking at it as 2 years. We do not have even hope right now of getting back to get our salaries.
Though Seru Alex, a head teacher at Good Hope Primary School, Nabulagala, has also received the cash, he has converted this COVID-19 cash relief donation into a rescue mission to fellow teachers.
When I received my 100,000, I decided to buy some food stuff for some of my members of staff, so that they can survive as they're waiting for the other money.
At Good Shepherd Primary School in Kawala, teachers are still waiting and guessing on why and when will their mobile phones make alert notification messages of their cash relief from government.
Yes, some people have been receiving by Saturday and Sunday. Have not had any more hope on my side because I haven't received even a 50. In case she can help me with 50,000, that will be good for me. It will not be enough because I don't think even 100,000 is enough for us, the primary 3 teachers.
As many continue waiting for the COVID-19 relief assistance, government is equally reminded on the pending promises.
Teachers have suffered, they have died, it has become a song. But we think the only way to help out these teachers is by giving them what the government promised. By giving them the 20 billion, which is sustainable, can be borrowed and be brought back so that they engage in activities that can give them money.
We had a real promise from the president himself, promising us 20 billion for teachers, the private schools teachers. But it is unfortunate that up to today, for 2 good years, how dare money be released by the president and it is taking over 2 years to be released? Something is not right.
Chirabira, Asad and Savio asserts that if government continues ignoring their cries, in the end, the education profession will be hit hard as many teachers are now lowering down their socks.
Teachers have decided, some of them have decided to come and sleep or camp in classrooms. Teachers were not given a chance to travel to their home districts. So they are stuck in Kampala. They don't have food, they don't earn. Some teachers have become beggars all over the streets.
Because the government has not prioritized the education sector. Prioritizing the education sector means a lot. It means thorough investment in the human resource, in the infrastructure, in the quality of education delivered. You cannot have quality education when you have not facilitated the human resource.
The situation of the private teachers is very appalling, and I would wish to confirm that most teachers have left the profession. And besides, those that still have hope in the professions are doing very, very badly.
The accumulating loans, arrears and debts mounted onto the school owners is also a matter which needs immediate attention. Robert Onyango, UBC News.
Thanks, Onyango, for that report there. People living with HIV continue to suffer with no food supplements, coupled with difficulties to access antiretroviral drugs to boost their immune system. Under their umbrella organization, National Forum of People Living with HIV Networks Uganda, they have attributed the suffering to partial lockdown, whose deadline remains a subject of speculation on whether government is willing to unlock the country after the 42 days. As our reporter Ivan Juko reports, the umbrella organization has launched a food distribution campaign to cater for 964 homes of people living with HIV/AIDS in areas of Kampala metropolitan amidst the trying moment of COVID-19 partial lockdown.
Uganda Nurses and Midwives Union has condemned acts of corruption by health workers and has vowed to investigate circumstances that could have led to the alleged stealing of drugs by Kawempe nurses and midwives.
I want the nurses and the midwives, seriously the midwives and nurses. It has even happened to me. It is not only nurses who distort money from patients if it happens. Because the surgeons can perform their procedures and they send the nurses that please can you go and ask for the money from the patients. So it is a joint effort that doctors and nurses should stop this. But if you do it and they get you, my friend, there is no rescue. You serve your descendants, you serve your penalty, because we condemn that.
The President, Uganda Nurses and Midwives Union, Justice Cherop Kiplangat, says government, agencies and the public should not jump to conclusions.
There is also what we call malice. Somebody malice should extend something to another area. That's why I'm warning that let us wait, let the investigation team continue, police continue, and they come up with their report. And the court will justify who is right and who is wrong.
Kiplangat reminded health workers that they should be just and fair when providing care to patients.
Being merciful and kind enough, by doing good thing at the right time for the patient, be non-harming or inflicting pain or anything to your client. No harm to whoever you are handling. Be accountable for the person under your hands. Whatever procedures you are doing, whatever you are doing in the hospital, be as much as faithful as possible.
On the issue of lunch allowances of 10,000 shillings for nursing assistants and 15,000 for other categories of nurses for 22 working days, Kiplangat appealed to government to be fast.
The allowances will be got in August, so please work hard.
He also says that government should not only compensate nurses and midwives infected by COVID-19 on Frontline, but also families of those frontliners who succumbed to the pandemic in the attempt to save lives.
For those who have succumbed to COVID-19, we demand government to compensate them, their families, with at least 80 million shillings.
Over 50 nurses and midwives have succumbed to COVID-19 and nothing has been done to their families.
And we do apologize for the mix-up of stories there, but that story that has just run was about Ugandan Nurses and Midwives Union that has vowed to conduct independent investigations into alleged acts of stealing drugs by Kawempe midwives. Now, the president of the union, Justice Cherop Kiplangat, while addressing journalists in Kampala, confirmed the move to investigate the drug theft scam involving association members, and that is the report that you've just been watching. But now let's go back to that one which we had earlier on introduced about people living with HIV/AIDS who continue to suffer on empty bellies with no food supplements, coupled with difficulties to access antiretroviral drugs to boost their immune system.
Communities decry the partial lockdown announced to curb down the spread of COVID-19. Among those hit hard by the pandemic are people living with HIV/AIDS due to limited or absolutely lack of income sources to cater for food, thus affecting them in the times they need to take ARVs since they cannot swallow medicine on empty bellies. Because of such challenges, UNAIDS, a global organization through National Forum of People Living with HIV Networks, Uganda has flagged off a food distribution campaign to cater for HIV positives. The launch was at Nafofano offices in Mengo, a Kampala suburb, and targets 964 homes within Kampala metropolitan region in districts of Kampala, Wakiso, Mpigi and Mokono that have been badly hit by the pandemic. The food package item to be distributed include 4,820 kilograms of rice, 9,640 kilograms of maize flour, 5,784 kilos of beans and masks. As good nutrition is a complement to adhere and positive living, the Executive Director Nafofanu, Stella Kentutsi, says the package has come to the right time, especially when many Ugandans decry food, and stated on how they are to do the distribution after government warning the public about individual distribution of food.
This gesture today is an addition to what government is already doing to ensure that lives of people living with HIV are supported so that the negative impact of COVID-19 is alleviated, and we are working together to go through this changing time.
Stella says people living with HIV/AIDS have also faced a number of challenges since the partial lockdown was declared, with stigma and discrimination coupled with barriers in transport to healthy facilities.
Taking of their medicines, they are able to live healthy lives. Consequently, we look at having reduced new HIV infections, reduced AIDS-related deaths, and very importantly also we want to ensure that we are fighting to end stigma against HIV and COVID-19.
UNAIDS through Nafofani will also distribute 1,900 masks to people living with HIV, 150 N95 masks, 60 mosquito nets, 10 oxygen heads regulators to healthy workers at Nambole COVID-19 site and Entebbe Hospital. They will also provide allowance to 32 health workers at Nambole and carry an awareness campaign all over the country.
And therefore what we need to do, what I want to hear call upon the media, is continue giving the messages that we've done, that COVID, a double epidemic of COVID and HIV is not the best that you can have. And it is worse, especially with those comorbidities.
Now, news just in. Conflicting information and change in wording regarding the National Social Security Amendment Bill has today forced the President to push a major decision on the workers' midterm access to their savings for another 2 weeks. Now, his decision followed a long meeting during which workers' representatives, including Peter Werike, Asha Owere, Charles Bakabulindi and COF2 representative Dr. Samuel Moki said whereas they had agreed with the NSSF that only workers who are 45 years and have saved 14 years, that is 45 years and 10 years savings, be allowed midterm access of 20% of their savings. They were shocked to learn that the wording had changed to 45 years or 10 years savings. Now, the meeting was also attended by representatives from the Ministry of Finance, led by the Minister, Matia Kasaija, the MD of NSSF, Richard Byarugaba, members of NOTU and COF2. The President said that he wants to do more research on the figures after the workers' representative said 800 billion shillings was needed for the midterm access, while NSSF's Byarugaba said they may need up to 3 trillion Ugandan shillings. Mr. Museveni raised various issues, including how this will affect workers' savings and what happens to the fund. Prior, NSSF MD Byarugaba had said the total fund now stands at 15 trillion Ugandan shillings and that each worker saves for between 25 to 30 years and earns 150 million Ugandan shillings. He said if they access their savings now, they lose up to 30 million shillings in 20 years. He also said the fund would lose money because it would offer securities at a discount in a fire sale. Museveni asked, and he later said he would study the figures before making a decision in 2 weeks' time. Mr. Werike, who is also the MP for Bubola West and Secretary General of NOTU, said they had agreed to a 20% access of their 10 million savings, that is 2 million Ugandan shillings.
Those who have saved 10 to about 150 million shillings. But of that amount of money, of the 150 million shillings,
percent profit in a year or 12 in an assured way. Money, you can start a shop
at a one go, assuming they all applied that day. And the money which NSSF will. Now, typically, our salary people, on average, get about 500,000.
You wait up to 55. What will it be? These are the people who start running up and down on the street here and they are looking for nothing. They are not occupied.
Now, if he was to wait, how much would he get at the end in the old way?
More news that just came in. Kampala Capital City Authority and the Metu bus industries have finalized plans for the company to assemble and manufacture buses to ease transport needs in the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area, GKMA. Now, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni said this will address the issue of too many small operations at zero budget for government. The president, in a final push to get the project off the ground after 3 years of bureaucratic red tape that threatened to sabotage it, summoned all stakeholders, including the Vice President, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo, Minister for General Duties in the Office of the Prime Minister, Kasule Lumumba, Minister of Finance, Matia Kasaija, Minister for Investment, Evelyn Aniti, Minister for Kampala, Kavada, KCCA Executive Director Dorothy Kisaka, and the Metu Bus Industries Proprietor Metu Katabazi to address the matter. The Minister for Finance, Matia Kasaija, said the project lay delayed because they were waiting for KCCA to work on the roads, which are narrow and may inconvenience or cause accidents. The President was, however, not happy that the ministry was focusing on the roads and not the manufacturing sector.
Three problems. You are adding capacity to the industrial capacity of the country, to everybody, to finance, to work, to Attorney General. But it's now like 3 years, nothing has moved.
And of course that comes in as good news for the transport sector in the country, but also investing here and promoting the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda initiative is concerned. Now let's continue with our news, and still in Entebbe. Frontline health workers at Entebbe Regional Referral Hospital have received certificates of appreciation for the efforts and work well done in the fight against the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. Among those with special thanks include Bagayanga Fred, who is an ambulance driver who transported the first case of COVID-19 victim in the country from Entebbe International Airport, where he tested positive, and the victim was taken to Entebbe Grade B for further examination and treatment. While at the handover ceremony at the hospital, Bishop Daniel Kutesa Wadimba applauded them for the efforts put in fighting the disease amidst challenges.
Bagayanga Fred has spent several years driving ambulances, transporting sick people at Entebbe Grade B. He has been appreciated for his work. But what does he say about the certificate awarded to him for the job well done despite of the hardships encountered?
Pick the first patient. I was so pleased, although I've been working with the exercise of Ebola, swine flu, those pandemics. I've been with them, moving up and down. But at this time, I was so oppressed because it was new, and I was not aware of it, that it can happen within.
Bagayanga says he received a phone call from his bosses informing him that he was to pick the first case. In an interview, Bagayanga says he was scared but could not resist, since that was the job he had applied for.
Which came into my mind, I thought of leaving this job. But at the end, I got an answer. You were called to work, to serve. Who will serve those people? So I stayed.
He says after some months in transporting COVID patients, in December last year he contracted the disease, but was so desperate and thought that he was going to die. Fortunately, the medical workers did their best to help him recover from coma. Bagayanga vowed to continue doing his job to save other people's lives.
I tried whatever I can, but there was nothing to do. I was supposed to be taken to CT1 for further management. By morning, I got a call from my doctor, was Dr. Felix, who called me that we want you. And that night I didn't sleep. I was there still in the quarters, but things were not okay on my side.
Others who are awarded include the hospital administrators, cleaners, nurses, who managed to help the pregnant mother who had a disease and successfully gave birth through cesarean.
As we try to motivate these staffs, because there's not much that you can give these people to say thank you. They leave their families, they come and they stay here. We have to motivate them every day in and out to ensure that our membership in a team remains stable.
Bishop Daniel Wadimba pledged to continue in different parts of the country appreciating health workers, which is a gesture of empowering them and recognizing their efforts in fighting against the deadly COVID-19 pandemic.
Don't be so exhausted that you can't serve us again. There are challenges, we do understand that, but
Today in history.
On 21st of July 2005, terrorists attempted to attack the London transit system by planting bombs on 3 subways and 1 bus. The attempted attack came exactly 2 weeks after terrorists killed 56 people and wounded 700 others in the largest attack on Great Britain since the World War II. The 4 bombers, Maktal Said Ibrahim, 29, Yassin Hassan Omar, 26, Ramuzi Mohammed, 25, and Hussein Osman, 28, were found guilty of the conspiracy to murder and sentenced to life in prison. An estimated 3 million people ride the London Underground every day, with another 6.5 million using the city's bus system.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
As the financial year 2020-2021 draws to an end, URA has put measures in place to facilitate taxpayers to file their returns and pay taxes within the set deadline. All our offices across the country and the URA Contact Center shall remain open to provide extra support to our esteemed taxpayers. Additionally, we have extended our contact center service hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday, and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays and public holidays. In light of the COVID-19 risks, we encourage taxpayers to reach us through our improved contact center and other online platforms instead of making physical visits to our offices. For online support, please reach through our toll-free lines 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000. Email services@ura.go.ug. Website ura.go.ug. Social media: Facebook, URA page, Twitter @URA Uganda. URA Customs Help Tool, help.ura.go.ug/login. URA appreciates all taxpayers who have duly fulfilled their obligations. Stay safe and let us all observe the standard operating procedures to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 virus. Stay safe as we develop Uganda together. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
The Universal Periodic Review, UPR, is a unique process under the United Nations. It involves peer review of the human rights records of all UN member states every 4 years. The ultimate aim of the UPR is to help improve on the human rights situation in all countries through technical assistance and cooperation. Uganda will be reviewed in January 2022. This is an opportunity to raise international advocacy on Uganda's human rights situation. The National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Uganda is coordinating all CSOs to participate in the CSO alternative reporting process in liaison with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For more information, email info@hrdcoalition.ug or call 0772 484 504.
It's coming to 39 minutes after 8 in the studios of UBC TV, and this is News Tonight here on UBC. Let's continue now, and it's good news in as far as the health sector is concerned, because the National Medical Stores has received part of the cold chain consignment trucks that will be used to store and transport vaccines. Dr. Ruth Acheng flagged off 2 cold chain vaccine trucks from the Ministry of Health headquarters here in Kampala.
Ministry of Health is expecting another batch of COVID-19 vaccines into the country to immunize the population against coronavirus disease. National Medical Stores has received 2 cold chain trucks capable of storing and transporting vaccines across the entire country.
Are kept at the same temperature at which they are kept at National Medical Stores, and at the same temperature at which we transport them in these cold chain trucks, because each district in the country has the cold chain capacity. We have freezers for those that require to be frozen. We have fridges for those that are supposed to be kept at a temperature of 2 to 8 degrees centigrade, and we maintain those equipments.
The Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, flagged off the trucks at the Ministry of Health headquarters in Kampala.
The trucks will be deployed in supporting immunization activities and other health-related activities. We encourage the National Medical Stores to maintain the cars routinely.
7 cold chain trucks are currently available in the country, as more 3 are expected by September 2021.
The cost is over $500,000, and UNICEF is playing the facilitator role for the Gavi here in Uganda and in other countries.
These trucks will support the National Medical Stores to build a resilient fleet that can manage delivery of vaccines. Each truck can carry up to 9,000 liters of vaccines. Sada Mubale, Ivan Kahwa, UBC News, Kampala.
Uganda Investment Authority has awarded the Kovidex innovator an investment license. Professor Patrick Ogwang of Jenna Herbal Limited has been given 5 hectares of land in Soroti Industrial Park plus a 10-year tax holiday. The investment license was handed over by the Minister in charge of Investment, Evelyn Aniti.
The investment license was handed over by the Minister in charge of Investment, Evelyn Anite, who promised unwavering government support.
And he made this request to me and my chairman this morning of 5 acres. And 5 acres is what we would give to him, and in Soroti Industrial Park. About the legal gymnastics, our president is leading the discussions, of course, to arbitrate. As you know, don't forget that Mbarara University is not private. It is equally government. So our president is keenly involved and is interested in this matter.
Kovidex is a local herbal medicine recommended by the National Drug Authority as a remedy to COVID-19. The drug is made using a combination of herbs containing antiviral properties that have been traditionally used from time immemorial.
We want to reverse importation of medicines to this country. For my I found that we import about 4 trillion shillings worth of medicine. 4 trillion. That's the money we are giving every year out. Jenna wants to contribute to reducing that by 60%. We want to reduce 60% of 4 trillion should remain in this economy and grow this economy. And I know we are going to do it because we have invested for a long time in doing that, and we are going to achieve it. I also want Ugandans to know that there is nothing we lack in this country.
According to the board chairman, Uganda Investment Authority, the COVID-19 pandemic has underscored the need for homegrown solutions to such pandemics.
As Ugandans, we have to support the pathogenic economy. The president has said that Pfizer, for example, will only this year earn 15 billion United States dollars. And I can tell you, I agree, if Professor Ogwang's Kovidex was somewhere else, it could have already been approved by World Health Organization. So it is us to support our local innovators, provide the support, and make them scale.
We'll look into our system and ensure, of course there's still a lot of work to do, but we have demonstrated it can happen. And especially for our local investors, how can we create efficiencies in the licensing system? Not all of our investors can read business plans or write them. But that shouldn't stop you getting a license here. We have a business development team here. Once you come in, our team should support you, prepare that business plan. Our goal is to ensure that you enter the formal sector of manufacturing.
Since its approval as a COVID-19 remedy a few weeks ago, the demand for Kovidex has skyrocketed locally and regionally, which has prompted government intervention in scaling up production. After the issuance of the investment license by Uganda Investment Authority, Professor Patrick Ogwang is now expected to scale up the production of Kovidex in a factory soon to be constructed at the Soroti Industrial Park. Dennis Igoa for UBC News in Kampala.
And congratulations to Professor Patrick Ogwang, and we do hope that after the factory has been set, there's going to be mass production of that life-saving Kovidex vaccine. Now let's move north and we go to Oyam, where it is relief for northern Uganda as Aber Hospital in Oyam district has acquired the first CT scan of its kind for advanced scanning. Our reporter Philip Agota reports that now there's not going to be any transfer of people who will be taken to hospitals here in Kampala.
In the deep rural district of Oyam is a center of excellence, Abe Hospital. It's not a profit-making hospital since it's owned and managed by Lira Catholic Diocese. It has become the first hospital in the whole of northern Uganda to acquire CT scan for advanced complications, meaning patients will no longer come to Kampala for the services.
So this machine is able to do, is a more specialized X-ray. It will see what is in the brain that the normal X-ray cannot see. Maybe there's a cancer in the brain, or a growth in the brain, or some fluid in the brain, small things. Then you can also see the neck, can do the chest, the lungs, is there anything wrong with the lungs, the liver, the abdomen, then the spine, the back. Is there a fracture of the back? Is there a cancer at the back? So because there are many cancers also at the back. Then the limbs, maybe a fracture or osteomyelitis, if the X-ray can see well, so it can do all those things.
The hospital also has the COVID-19 treatment center that the parliamentary committee commended for good management. The parliamentary committee on COVID-19 commended the hospital and pledged to lobby government support not only to Abe Hospital but to all health facilities and religious institutions.
They have an equally high output because they're giving very good services at subsidized rates. You understand? When you look at the clinical output of a hospital like Lacho, it almost approximates to what we are seeing in terms of output and costs of running the facility to Gulu Regional Referral Hospital. We're happy that government of Uganda gives them 600 million shillings per year as non-wage recurrent expenditure. But their cost is about 24 billion, so that's just a drop in the ocean. So as the incoming chair of the health committee, in the first quarter I want to meet all these, the heads of these medical bureaus. That's Muslim Medical Bureau, Catholic Medical Bureau, Orthodox and Protestant Medical Bureau. We see what are their challenges and how can we work more, how can we strengthen and synergize to give a better service, because we're all helping Ugandans.
Lira Referral Hospital is also among the hospitals in the region that were recommended by the visiting parliamentary committee on COVID-19 response. Lira Referral Hospital has an intensive care unit which, according to reports obtained by MPs, is well managed with about 100 oxygen cylinders and oxygen plant.
Secondly, we've also gone to the regional referral hospital. We've seen that the staff and the management has played a very big role to ensure that even where there are challenges, they have not waited for regional solutions or national solutions. They have come and moved on their own to develop the local solutions for the local challenges that they are facing. They have been having issues with space. They have been able to create space. There have been challenges with the training, having the required staff. They have been able to send them for training, which has been an initiative that they have undertaken on their own. So that is very, very commendable. However, having said that, we still notice that there are some challenges that are still being faced. One is that medicines for management of COVID-19 is still limited, and therefore patients are buying from out, and some of them are not able to afford.
Philip Aguta, UBC News in Lira.
Very great achievement there by Aber Hospital, and thanks, Philip, for that report. Now, over 22 billion shillings was spent by government to control swarms of locusts which ravaged parts of Karamoja, Teso, Acholi and Lango sub-regions. Members of Parliament on the Agriculture Parliamentary Committee have drafted their work plan to start demanding for accountability of the 22 billion shillings spent by the Ministry of Agriculture in the fight against the locusts.
One thing is that we shall interact with the minister first, and of course it was only unfortunate that we didn't have time to go for oversight, especially in the districts that were affected by the locusts, to know how the monies were spent. But I also know that there were units, especially units that were in charge of spraying these locusts. And I had a very big unit in my district, although I didn't also have time to interact with them on how they were operating.
According to the rules, is to monitor the implementation. Money was appropriated and to fight the locusts in this country. We want to know, we want to follow up and know how did they use that money, and is there a readiness should locusts come back to Uganda again? Is there a readiness? How did they use the resources?
Finish businesses, not just for the agricultural sector, but for all the sectors.
Locusts still making news. A section of members of Parliament have expressed divergent views on recent concerns by government on how politicians were distributing food without following standard operating procedures. Their arguments follow a recent directive by Information and National Guidance Minister Dr. Chris Wariomusi advising politicians to channel COVID-19 aid through task forces. Now, whereas some members of Parliament agree with the minister, some express reservations.
I would really discourage the members of Parliament giving food ourselves. You see, last lockdown we had started the same issue, but we realized we were killing the people ourselves. Because each time they would come together, they don't mind about the mask, they don't mind about whom they are interacting with, they would only mind about food. So no social distance at all. So when the president guided and that food was being given to the task force, we realized the distribution plan were very smart. So I call upon my colleagues, members of Parliament and other leaders who want to donate food to our people that we represent and the beneficiaries down there who are starving, that let's get this food. I agree with the minister, just as he said, we give it to the RDC. We have this food given in an organized manner.
You see, sometimes there's also a challenge with the task force team at the district. And as a politician, my ultimate objective why I would be distributing the food is to reach the desired category of people. So if I cannot trust the system that will deliver, I would prefer to take it myself.
Those of us who are handling it individually. Last time, we did give this relief food to the district task force, specifically mine. There are some weaknesses that were here and there. The target population, those that are so vulnerable, did not get this food support. So it's the reason we are handling it ourselves. Whereas it would be good, but the district task force is at times overstretched to reach out to these people, because at times they have challenges of having transport to reach out to these people. So if I told I have my mechanism that can adequately deliver this food to our people, I think we should handle it.
Members of Parliament having their say in as far as the distribution of food to vulnerable people is concerned. Now, the Office of the Prime Minister is counting on the support of the United Nations in implementing their ambitious parish development model, whose implementation starts this financial year. This was revealed by the State Minister for General Duties, who is also in charge of Sustainable Development Goals, Justin Kasule Lumumba, while welcoming the new UN representative to Uganda, Susan Ngogi Namondo. At a function held at the office of the Prime Minister, Ms. Namondo pledged all the necessary support on behalf of the UN in Uganda to the government of Uganda. Other areas will be supporting government to realize the sustainable development goals despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Ngogi replaced Rosa Malango, who served for 5 years in the country. Take a watch.
Because the parish is from quite a number of villages, usually between 6 and 12 constitute a parish. Then from a parish we move up to a sub-county, then a county and district. But we had based all our statistics, data collection, planning at the district level. Some had gone to the parish sub-county level, but we took a decision, both as the NRM party, the party in leadership, and the government, that we now bring the unit for data collection, planning, and also interventions. It's an accountability center to both the community, but also with the political leaders and the technical leaders. So teams are going to have been constituted at that level, and we are beginning this financial year. So you've come in at a time where we've come up with what we think is the best to be accountable, but also account for all the households in that particular area. And the lowest is the parish. That's why we have gone to that.
Thank you so much for the really warm welcome. I really look forward to working with you closely and the rest of government in our common aspirations towards the Sustainable Development Goals. I've been briefed by colleagues, so I'm still new in understanding exactly the work that we've been doing, but I've been briefed earlier today by the head of the SDG Secretariat and also my colleagues, and I'm truly proud of the work that the United Nations has been able to do with the government regarding implementation of SDGs here. It's very clear that there's a structure in place in terms of understanding the progress that we have made. But of course, this is only a structure. We're supporting that structure. But it's the government's own work in terms of promoting the development of its people and implementing its ambitions of development.
That is the new UN representative of Uganda, Susan Ngogi Namondo, ending that report there. Now let's go back north and we look at the education sector, where the option of learning using radios has been questioned by a section of parents and learners in Gulu City, who say it is not a suitable method for extending lessons to children stuck at home. They believe that children do not have a long attention span to concentrate through an hour-long radio lesson, while others believe that buying batteries could become costly for financially handicapped parents.
As the celebrations from the recently released PLE results die off, new questions arise on how to conduct lessons for the early learners in the classes of nursery to primary 3 who have been home for over a year.
I feel that the radio program is good, but now, you know, interaction face-to-face is more healing, because a child will be attending to the teacher, will ask the question there and then. With the radio, there are some other interference. When he or she has colleagues at home, they would be shouting. Though it's a good initiative, still some parents cannot yet afford the radio program.
The COVID-19 pandemic brought their education into a standstill, and some parents in Gulu do not believe that the use of radios to conduct lessons will solve the problem.
There is some loophole somewhere because not everybody has a radio, and not every kid is good at listening to radio. Classwork is better, but that's the way to go. Since things are not the best, we have to struggle.
The country director of Gulu Youth Academy, Otika Edward, says the cost of maintaining radio sets will be expensive for financially poor parents, especially in the village areas.
The students to the same level would be the government looking at the different teachers who are now very idle in the communities and supporting them with material from the NCDC. I've seen a lot of materials from P1 actually to senior 6. These materials can be given to these teachers and distributed in the communities to teach a certain number of students or pupils, more especially in the lower level.
However, in the recently released PLE results, Omara Brian and Obong Ignatius scored 7 and 9 aggregate, respectively, at Madhaludia Nursery and Primary School in the city. Although they prefer one-on-one coaching, they applaud the radio, TV and newspaper lessons that helped them pass their examinations.
Some teachers, some teachers who teach them, they can also go to the radio stations and instead of class, they can go and teach them from there.
As for those who can't afford coaching, radios are better because radios also can delay, and if you buy at once. Not like coaching which you have to pay like every week.
Ernest Mohindo, a primary 7 teacher of science at Hilda Nursery and Primary School in Gulu City, encouraged children to work hand in hand to raise money to buy and maintain radio sets.
You see, in most cases when parents are with the children, they cannot let them sit on books for the whole day. So they can have some short time to work with the parents. They can generate that little money from maybe selling vegetables and other small things, produce in their homes to buy these dry cells and others.
Uganda is currently under a 42-day lockdown in order to curtail the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. In this period, all gatherings are restricted.
To Kasese district now, where retardation and gaps in service delivery to communities in Kasese have been attributed to the continuous disasters which affect development strategies. Local leaders in Kasese district have now appealed to government and other development partners to help the district find a lasting solution to the current flood disaster. We have more in this report.
Rivers originating from Mount Renzoli have been bursting their banks, claimed over 50 lives and destroyed property worth millions of money. The chairman Kasese district, Bukombi Erifazi, said the over 30 billion shillings which was released by government to desilt the river bank to its original channel was misused. This has continuously ravaged the communities downstream, causing death and destroying property, including government infrastructure.
They approved it. They said 5 billion would be meant for D8 and other equipment that would be used in desilting. So the budget was approved, work started. Instead of beginning with the 7 kilometers from Masule to Kirembe Hospital, they decided to begin from Nyamwamba Bridge along Port Kasese Road.
He said the past leadership did not play their oversight supervision role to monitor the contractors and also follow up the presidential pledges towards acquiring heavy machinery to fix the river channel to its original path.
So to me, in my own opinion, I look at it that there was some mismanagement at that level by the district leadership, not monitoring and evaluating the program, and also the contractor not being followed up.
The current situation has affected service delivery in the district. The Busongora South MP Gideon Mujungu said government needs to hire a consultant to conduct feasibility studies on the cause of the recurring flooding of the rivers in Kasese.
In the long term, we need a standby excavator
which desilts the river constantly.
State Minister for National Guidance in the ICT Ministry, Godfrey Kabyanga, told the Prime Minister Robin Anabanja yesterday in Kasese that government needs to find competent investors to take over copper and related mineral mining belts in Chirembe Valley to contain River Nyamwamba. Kabyanga said the Canadian investors who started copper mining in Chirembe had a full department to manage the river floods and managed its flow.
A core investor in Chirembe
who must also maintain the diversion up there.
Because now the power stations, you can see the advantage of the power stations. Every time the bridge goes, they come and maintain.
Meanwhile, the Minister for Relief, Hilary Onek, called for concerted efforts from line ministries to address the disaster challenges of the Kasese floods.
Jointly with the Ministry of Works, as our partner also, should be able to do some earthwork to divert River Nyamwamba from the hills, not to allow it to come down.
The Commissioner, Water Resources Management at the Ministry of Water and Environment, Kalist Tindi Mugaya, said the ministry has secured funding from World Bank to address the flood challenges of various rivers in Kasese. I'm Navka Farida and Stephen Kalisia.
A former Minister of Education and Sports Director, Nsumba Lyazi, has thrown his weight behind thematic curriculum that targets skillings. This, he says, is the only way Ugandans can be able to cope with time COVID-19 has brought. John Pansentamu reports.
Senior educationist Nsumba Lyazi has advised education institutions to focus most on themes, principles and concepts to enable Uganda recover from the danger posed by COVID-19.
And the period we have may not be sufficient for us to cover the whole syllabus. But if we concentrate on the key areas, the themes that need to be known through looking through proper teaching of the key concepts and principles in these topics, I think it will be very, very helpful for young people to be able to read on their own.
Meanwhile, Light Academy Nursery and Primary School in Zana continues to lead the way through various innovations like the robot sanitizer. This has confirmed that their academic performance in the just released primary living examinations results, in which 97.7 passed, is no fluke.
You know, getting 97.7% first grade is not easy. It needs a lot of effort from both parents, teachers and students, and we did it. We are very happy with this performance, and we believe we shall even keep on doing the same way.
The school administration applied e-learning, but also ensured that they instill morals into their children, because you never know what will enable one to succeed.
We also look at the moral aspect of life, because we are much aware that a man without discipline or behavior is like a tree that cannot bear fruits. So at Light Academy, we prioritize behavior. We have a creation of the moral lessons that are done on the timetable for all the classes.
The school administration advises parents to monitor learners through the now adopted e-learning in order to restrict exposing them to cybercrime, pornography and other vices.
Now let's shift our attention to what's going on currently all over the world, and that is Eid al-Adha, and today it entered the second day as many Muslims across the world continued with the slaughtering of animals. And here in Kawempe, Kampala suburb, the Association of Women Muslims continued to slaughter animals and distribute it to their Muslim brothers and sisters. Take a watch.
It is often unusual to find Muslim women united under an umbrella organization, making offertories to the needy. The act is often done by men, but this time round the story is different. Muslim women in a Kampala suburb of Kawempe are taking lead in this exercise of making offertories to the needy on the second day of celebrating Eid, where animals like cows, sheep and goats are being slaughtered as a gesture of strong conviction in faith. Hajat Zamzam has donated meat to people of Kawempe to fulfill the promise of helping needy Muslims. But her gesture is not limited to only the vulnerable Muslims. It's cutting across irrespective of one's religion, so long as you are in need.
To help each other. It's not the government which is going to help everybody. We as people, we have to care for our friends and look after them.
She says the gesture of making offertories to the needy is unstoppable, though in some circles, government has been stopping politicians and individuals to offer relief aid support to the vulnerable persons.
And we have so many needy people in our community, single mothers, widows, orphans, and they don't have what to eat during this season.
Whereas to politicians, making relief offertories to the vulnerable persons is a position that government still holds grip on. Hajat Zamzam sought for permission from government prior to her relief aid.
Never against Odisa, already nga government yenyini yatuwe mmere ate gye tukola ki gye tugabira abantu kati nabadde sisobola kusirikira mmere eyo kubeera mu nju.
However, beneficiaries of Zamzam's relief offertories include among others the elderly, widowers and those whose businesses were affected by the partial lockdown and now they are home grounded.
Mungu amuddizeewo ku kyakoze kuba abamu twali tetwafunye kanyama naye tusobozesezza okukafuna nze nviiridde kanyanya.
Neebaza Hajati Zamzam Allah msobozesezza okutufunirayo.
Sebira Andrew compiled this report for UBC News.
Now another short break and we'll return with the latest in business.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
Echa COVID-19 kijja kuggwa only if we stay at home, observe physical distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly, or get vaccinated now.
In efforts to improve quality assurance and Uganda's competitiveness as a tourist destination, Uganda Tourism Board is set to undertake a nationwide grading and classification exercise of hotel and accommodation facilities. As a member of the East African community, Uganda subscribes to the East African Grading and Classification Criteria, a system denoted by stars ranging from 1 to 5. The grading and classification exercise will be crowned by the awarding of star ratings to facilities found compliant to the EAC minimum standards. This is therefore a call to all accommodation and facility owners and managers to register and get licensed by UTB as a requirement and get ready for participation. For more information, visit www.utb.go.ug or email qualityassurance@utb.go.ug for details. Uganda Tourism Board, promoting tourism together.
Welcome back, and this is News Tonight on UBC TV. Let's have a look now at what's happening in the world of business. One person has been arrested by police in Tororo on allegations of dealing in fake cement. Over 2 tons of fake cement in Marikit sub-county was recovered, packed in different cement brands ranging from Tororo Cement to Simba Cement and ready for sale.
By 11 a.m., police in Tororo headed to Malaire Center, a village in Marikiti sub-county, after receiving information of a group of people dealing in counterfeit cement. Upon arrival at home of one identified as Owor, who is on the run, heaps of cement like sand, dust and aggregate stones is what welcomed the forces into the compound. A continued search unearthed tons of fake cement already packed for sale inside these grass-thatched houses. This in addition to thousands of packing bags belonging to different cement factories operating within the district. The whistleblower said he received a tip-off from the locals about the fake cement.
Told them, you are not offloading this thing here. Could be I even bought cement to construct my house at the Kampala Trading Center. I may have bought the wrong cement. Therefore, I don't want this. Then I even gave a report to police. I said, there is something wrong in my zone.
The locals claim that the practice of duplicating cement in the area has greatly affected them.
I constructed my house this very year at Kampala Trading Center. The first 20 bags I bought it from Tororo. That is the branch of the factory, which I used, but the one I bought within here, I used it for my veranda. But when you get to that veranda now, you will see holes.
If you use the cement for 3 hours, you'll find it expired. That's the effect of it. Within 3 hours, it's already what? Expired. Formerly, you can use it for 6 hours. It's still effect. It's still good.
The managers of factories in the district say fake cement has impacted negatively on their sales.
Now they are mixing some foreign material inside the bag along with the cement, which has similar color. Now, when the customer uses, he finds the quality is not what Simba was used to produce. So he will think that Simba factory or maybe other factories, they are not producing the quality cement in the country.
The district CID Tororo ASP Sulaiman Mokolu Musa condemns the act. He said one suspect is already in their custody to help police with investigation.
We arrested one person who is with us. They were repackaging this cement. Indeed, they are what we call adulteration. And this issue, you see what is happening in the country. Very many houses are collapsing. Very many upstairs are collapsing as a result of this. So as police, we must fight for this, such that we protect our locals and the nation as well, plus protecting these factories.
Police later loaded the fake cement and took it to Toro Central Police Station for further investigations.
Good afternoon.
Sports news now, and the Council for East and Central Africa Under 23 Challenge Cup has entered day 4 with action in Ethiopia. Uganda isn't only represented by a team in Group C that drew its first game against DR Congo, but also a journalist, Peter Otai, who sent us this report.
Welcome to News Tonight. My name is Peter Tai, a journalist with Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, covering the Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup for Azam. And of course, the Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup has actually been very exciting, living to its billing when you actually go down and look at the games so far played. So far, we actually began from the 17th of July 2021. And currently, we are reaching at a stage where the games are coming to a close. If you look at the entire action that we have been following very well, the best game so far I can talk about is the 3-3 draw game between Ethiopia and Eritrea. You know very well politically what exactly is happening between the two nations, between Ethiopia and Eritrea, but the two sides came together and played a game that ended 3-3. Very exciting game it was. But also when you go down and look at the entire event, there was a game that was actually pushed to the next day. It was a game that was played yesterday between Burundi actually playing against Eritrea. That game was only played 45 minutes, then rain began falling very heavily, and the organizers had to push that game for today in the morning. Burundi actually went on to beat Eritrea by 3-0. Should be noted that in 2019, the games that were played in Kampala, Eritrea reached the final and lost to Uganda by 3-0. But again, Eritrea became the first country to be eliminated from the groups when it comes down to the game. If you look at this year's edition of the Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup at the under 22, it's different from the other editions. Why? Because we have classification matches this time, and also we have playoffs this time. So which means for those teams that do not make it to the semi-final, they'll be playing classification matches. Then after the classification matches, they'll be playing in what we call the playoffs. So it has been something very exciting, a little bit more football for the team. So the teams won't be going home very, very early. I expect a lot to come through. As I speak right now, in the group where Uganda is, that is Group A, where we have Uganda, Tanzania, and a country called DR Congo. Tanzania did beat, that is DR Congo, by 1-0. So Tanzania is topping that group with 3 points. Number 2 is Uganda with 1 point. And of course, bottom of the table is Congo with 1 point and -1. So the most important game is that game that will be played, that is after tomorrow but 1, and that's between Uganda and Tanzania. The winner of that match will be qualifying to the semi-final. Remember, Tanzania already has 3 points, Uganda has 1 point. Tanzania only needs a draw to qualify to the semi-final. Uganda needs to beat Tanzania to qualify for the semi-final. So I have to admit, we have only seen 1 red card, but the red card has not been on play. That red card was actually given today to the assistant coach of DR Congo, who was making a lot of noise that the referee of the day had been bribed. So that's the reason as to why he received that red card. But all in all, here it's good football going on. Let me actually hand you back again to studio. This is UBC tonight, and it's bye-bye from me until next time.
Thank you very much, Otai, for representing us there. And of course, Uganda, a very, very tricky encounter when it comes to Tanzania. Of course, Uganda drew with DRC, but now Tanzania beat it, and we have to meet them. So we really have to pray for our lads there so that they can beat Tanzania and be able to qualify for the semi-finals. And that's all we had time for. Thank you so much for having kept us company. And I'll be meeting you again tomorrow, same time, same station. But I leave you with Kutesa Mili with the weather forecast for tomorrow. Good night.
A reduction in wet activities, more especially in the southern part of our region. Once again, Kutesa Mili with your weather update. Good evening. This is due to the ridging over the tip of South Africa that is pushing the hazy conditions towards us and maintaining the rain belt in the northern part of our country, hence bringing us the weather that we're experiencing lately. Tomorrow morning, though, we expect to wake up with sunny conditions in most parts of the country, apart from some few areas across the lake shores and that side of Alua. Afternoon hours, we expect a pickup of light showers across most parts of the country. Apart from some few areas in the southwestern of our country, I expect to continue with sunny intervals. Temperature is up to 30 degrees of maximum across the northern part of our country and around Kasese and Mubende. Across the capital city of Kampala with a maximum of 28 degrees Celsius. Kabale Highlands with the lowest of 26 degrees Celsius. U.S. moving out of our country to our other cities across the globe. We're forecasting light showers across Mombasa, Beijing and Moscow, with thunder though across Beijing with a maximum of 29 degrees Celsius. Dubai and in New York, I expect to have sunny conditions with a maximum of 22 degrees Celsius across New York. Thanks for tuning on UBC. I remain Kutesa Mili. Stay tuned and see you tomorrow.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
As the financial year 2020-2021 draws to an end, URA has put measures in place to facilitate taxpayers to file their returns and pay taxes within the set deadline. All our offices across the country and the URA Contact Center shall remain open to provide extra support to our esteemed taxpayers. Additionally, we have extended our contact center service hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays and public holidays. In light of the COVID-19 risks, we encourage taxpayers to reach us through our improved contact center and other online platforms instead of making physical visits to our offices. For online support, please reach us through our toll-free lines 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000. Email services@ura.go.ug. Website ura.go.ug. Social media: Facebook, URA page, Twitter @URA Uganda. URA Customs Help Tool, help.ura.go.ug/login. URA appreciates all taxpayers who have duly fulfilled their obligations. Stay safe and let us all observe the standard operating procedures to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 virus. Stay safe as we develop Uganda together.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together. In efforts to improve quality assurance and Uganda's competitiveness as a tourist destination, Uganda Tourism Board is set to undertake a nationwide grading and classification exercise of hotel and accommodation facilities. As a member of the East African community, Uganda subscribes to the